They say an avoidant never truly lets anyone in. But that's not the truth. The truth is they do, just not for everyone. And when they do, when they open the one door they keep locked from the world, it's because you've become something rare to them, something irreplaceable. And here's how you'll know. The unseen door they rarely open. Most people think avoidants simply don't want closeness, that they prefer being alone, that distance is their natural state. It's not. It's their learned state. Every wall they've built, every step they take away instead of closer, comes from years of conditioning. Moments when needing someone only led to disappointment. When vulnerability wasn't safe. It was dangerous. So they learned. They learned that connection must be controlled. That showing too much means giving away too much. That the safest love is one you can walk away from at any moment. But here's what almost no one sees. When an avoidant does lower that wall, even a fraction, it's not random. It's not casual. It's a choice they almost never make. And if you're the person they choose, it's because you've passed an invisible series of tests. They've been watching how you handle their silence, how you respond when they need space, whether your presence feels like pressure or like permission. And when you pass those tests, when you make them feel seen instead of suffocated, that's when the door starts to open. It won't be grand gestures. It'll be subtle shifts, ones you might miss if you don't know what to look for. They'll start telling you little stories from their childhood, not the highlight reel, but the quiet moments, ones they've never shared with anyone else. They'll message you first, not because they need something, but because they simply want to connect. They'll let you into their home, their routine, their sacred alone time. To them, these aren't small things. These are massive, because every one of these acts costs them something. Comfort, control, the safety of distance. And here's what's rare. They don't do this for anyone else. They don't hand pieces of themselves to just anyone. If they've chosen you, it's because in their world, you are safe enough to risk being hurt by, safe enough to be trusted with their real self. And when you understand the weight of that, you'll never see their small acts the same way again. The moments they let the mask slip. You'll never catch an avoidant walking into a room and announcing, "Okay, I'm ready to be vulnerable now." That's not how it works. Their opening up is quiet, gradual, almost invisible unless you're paying close attention. Because for them, vulnerability feels like standing on a cliff with no railing. Every instinct tells them to step back, to retreat to safer ground. So when you notice the moments they let the mask slip, you have to understand the magnitude of what's happening. It might happen during a conversation that seems ordinary. Maybe you're sitting in a car together, music humming in the background, and they mention something they've never told anyone before. Not a big confession, not a dramatic secret, but something real. A memory, a thought, a small truth that has been sitting in the locked box they carry everywhere. They may tell you about a friendship that ended abruptly, a disappointment they've never processed, a part of their life where they felt unseen. And they won't make eye contact when they say it, because eye contact makes it too real, too exposed. To you, it might feel like a passing comment. To them, it's a risk. Another moment, they start letting you see them when they're not ready. Avoidants are masters of presentation. They curate what you see, what version of themselves you get access to. But slowly, you'll notice the cracks. They'll let you catch them when they're tired, when they're stressed, when they're not in full control of their emotions. It might be as small as them answering the phone when they're upset, or not hiding the fact that something's bothering them. For most people, these are normal things. For an avoidant, these are trust falls. And then there are the rarest moments of all, when they reach for you. They're the ones who usually keep people at arm's length. They keep their own company. They solve their own problems. So when an avoidant initiates closeness, when they choose to lean into you instead of away, it's monumental. It might be a text in the middle of the day just to say they were thinking about you. It might be them showing up at your door when they're struggling, instead of disappearing. These aren't accidents. These are signs that their instinct to run is being overridden by something stronger, the desire to keep you close. And here's the truth most people never hear. Once an avoidant gives you that trust, they never forget the moments they felt safe with you. Even if they later pull back, even if the relationship changes, that safety becomes a memory they carry and compare everyone else to. Because for them, safety isn't common. It's rare, precious, and if they felt it with you, you've entered a category in their heart where very few people live. It's not about grand declarations. It's not about the kind of vulnerability movies show. It's about the quiet moments, the ones so subtle the rest of the world would miss them entirely. If you're paying attention, you'll realize you're witnessing something sacred. The moments an avoidant lets you see the parts they've spent a lifetime protecting, the subtle ways they show you you're different. Avoidants aren't the type to hand you a trophy and say, "You've made it past my walls, congratulations." They don't verbalize it. They don't even consciously realize they're doing it most of the time. But when you matter to them in a way others don't, their behavior changes, quietly, subtly, in ways that someone not looking closely might miss entirely. One of the first signs? They start remembering, not just the big things, like your birthday or your favorite food. They remember the tiny details, the throwaway comments you made weeks ago, the little preferences you didn't even think they noticed. If you once mentioned you hate a certain song, you'll never hear it playing in their car again. If you said you love a certain snack, it might appear in their kitchen without them ever pointing it out. Avoidance might seem detached, but when they've decided you matter, they become silent collectors of your world. Another way, they start making micro adjustments for you. An avoidance life is usually designed for them. Their space, their time, their routines, all set up to minimize emotional demands. But with you, they'll bend. It might be staying up later than they like, just to talk with you. It might be rearranging their schedule to see you, even if they pretend it's no big deal. Avoidants don't shift their habits easily. If they're doing it, it's because you've become important enough to disrupt their carefully protected balance. Then there's the change in how they communicate. At first, you might have been the one always reaching out. Conversations might have felt like pulling teeth, long gaps between messages, short replies. But as they start to trust you, they reach out more, not necessarily with emotional confessions, but with things that matter to them. A random meme, a link to a song they like, a text that says, "This made me think of you." For most people, these seem small. For an avoidant, this is their version of saying, "I'm letting you in." And here's a big one. They let you into their space. An avoidant's home, their room, their personal world. These are fortresses. Not everyone is allowed in. So when they invite you over, when they let you see where they live, when they stop hiding the mess and imperfections, that's trust. Because their space isn't just physical. It's emotional territory too. Letting you into it means they're allowing you into the environment where they feel most unguarded. And that's not a privilege they hand out lightly. Finally, there's the rarest gesture of all. They let you see their real reactions. At the start, they might filter themselves, keep their emotions muted, make sure nothing too raw slips out. But when you've earned your place in their life, the filters drop in moments they don't even notice. They laugh louder. They show frustration without immediately apologizing for it. They let you see them feel. For them, that's not carelessness. That's trust in action. And here's what's ironic. They might never say the words, "You're special to me," but you'll feel it in the accumulation of these little moments. The remembered detail, the rearranged plan, the text that comes out of nowhere, the door they open to their private space, the unfiltered emotion you never thought you'd see. Because for an avoidant, love isn't always spoken in sentences. Sometimes it's spoken in the language of exceptions. And if you're the exception, you've already crossed a line in their heart that very few ever reach, when their guard lowers without them realizing. With avoidance, there's rarely a grand, movie-worthy moment where they suddenly decide, "I'm ready to open my heart now." It doesn't happen in one big reveal. It happens in 1,000 tiny slips, moments so small they almost go unnoticed, until you realize something has shifted. At first, they're hyper-aware of the distance they're keeping. It's deliberate, it's controlled, but as they start to trust you, that control starts to loosen. And here's the interesting part. They don't always notice it themselves. One of the earliest signs? They stop planning every interaction. Avoidants often like their emotional contact in measured doses. They know when they'll see someone, how long it will last, and exactly how much they'll reveal. But with you, you'll catch them staying longer than they intended, letting conversations wander past the safe topics, forgetting to guard themselves in real time. What used to be precise and intentional becomes unplanned, and that's huge for them. Then there's the physical closeness. Avoidants aren't usually big on casual touch, at least not in a way that feels vulnerable. They might hug, but it's quick. They might sit near you, but not close enough for it to feel intimate. When the guard starts to drop, you notice the gap closing. They linger when you hug them. They sit next to you instead of across the room. Their body language starts to lean in, even if their words still play it cool. It's subtle. They're not consciously thinking, "Let me show them I'm comfortable now." It just happens because their nervous system is beginning to see you as safe. Another shift happens in how they share. In the beginning, they might talk about surface-level things, work, hobbies, stories they've told 100 times. But suddenly, you start hearing the unscripted stuff. Not deep trauma right away, but personal opinions they don't share with everyone. Unpolished thoughts. Small admissions like, "Honestly, I hate going to those events." Or, "That kind of thing makes me nervous." It might not sound like much, but for an avoidant, saying something that makes them even a little vulnerable is an act of trust. And then, there's the quiet lingering. If you've been around avoidance long enough, you know they can be quick to end an interaction once there. Emotional tolerance is met, but when their guard lowers, they linger, not because they need something from you, not because they feel obligated, but simply because they want to stay. This is when you might catch them in moments of silence that feel completely at ease. Not awkward, not forced, just comfortable. For them, that's monumental. Silence usually means they're retreating, but here, it means they're settled enough to just be with you. Here's a sign most people miss. They let you see them when they're not at their best. At the start, an avoidant will always present the most composed, in control version of themselves. But the deeper you get, the more they stop hiding the rough edges. You'll see them tired, frustrated, maybe even unwell. Not because they're testing you, but because they're not afraid you'll judge them or leave. And for someone whose greatest fear is rejection, that's a quiet revolution. Finally, there's the most telling slip of all. They start initiating moments of vulnerability without realizing they're doing it. It might be them telling you something from their past in a casual conversation. It might be asking for your opinion on something that matters to them. It might be showing you something personal, a project, a place, a memory without any prompting. When this happens, it means the walls aren't just lowering, they're being rebuilt with a doorway, and you've been given a key. The beautiful thing is, they don't need to announce it. They don't need to make it official. You'll know by the way the air changes, by the way their presence feels warmer, by the way their eyes soften, even if their words still sound the same. Because for avoidance, trust isn't declared. It's lived. It's felt. It's quietly proven in the spaces where they stop protecting themselves. The moment you realize you matter more than you knew, there's a quiet shift that happens before you even notice it. The conversations feel lighter, yet somehow more meaningful. You catch yourself thinking, they're different with me. Not in a way that's flashy, not in a way they'd ever admit, but in the way they are. For most people, openness is a choice, a decision they can make quickly. I trust you, so I'll tell you this. For an avoidant, it's not like that. It's not a switch they flip. It's a slow, layered process of realizing they can stand next to you without the armor. It's not that they wake up one morning and decide to trust you. It's that one day they realize they already have. It might show up in the way they start texting you for no reason. Avoidants don't send casual thinking of you messages, not because they don't think of you, but because even the smallest emotional risk feels like a big deal. So when your phone lights up with something simple, saw this and thought of you, or how was your day? Understand that for them, this isn't small talk. It's proof that they're letting you in without bracing for impact. Another sign? They start weaving you into their world without overthinking it. An avoidant might keep parts of their life neatly divided. Friends here, work there, family over there. Because mixing those worlds feels like giving up control. When they start introducing you to their people, or sharing inside jokes from other parts of their life, it means they've stopped worrying about what might happen if you really know them. And then, the real breakthrough. They let you see their emotions in the moment. Not the safe, delayed version they've carefully packaged hours or days later, but raw, unedited reactions. Frustration, excitement, even sadness. For an avoidant, this is one of the scariest things they can do. Because emotions in real time can't be controlled, and losing control feels like danger. When they share those moments with you, it's because they no longer see you as someone who could use it against them. But here's the thing you might not realize. This isn't just about them opening up. It's about the fact that they see you as different. You're not just someone they like. You've become a person whose presence feels safe enough to soften in. And for someone who's built their life around self-protection, that's rare. That's precious. That's love, even if they can't bring themselves to call it that yet. One day, you'll notice something small. Maybe they don't flinch when you touch them unexpectedly. Maybe they start using we instead of I. Maybe they smile at you in a way that feels unguarded. And you'll realize, you've become a part of their story in a way they didn't plan for, but wouldn't change if they could. So if you're there right now, if you're seeing these signs, don't rush them. Don't push for the next milestone. Just keep being the steady presence that made them feel safe in the first place. Because here's the truth. The avoidant will open up when they no longer need to protect themselves from you. And when that moment comes, you'll see a side of them the world never gets to see. The side that was waiting quietly for the right person to prove that love doesn't have to feel like a trap. If this spoke to you, don't just scroll away. Hit that save button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and maybe send it to the one person who comes to mind right now. Because you never know. This might be the thing that helps them open their heart just a little wider.